If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Lone Lightworker podcast. I'm your host, Jen Rodriguez. The Lone Lightworker is so grateful for all of the love and support. Please keep it coming and keep spreading the word, letting your friends and family know about the Lone Lightworker podcast and blog. The Lone Lightworker podcast came about as a way of wanting to shine my light out into this world. My hope and thoughts were that through sharing and being open about my own struggles and my many flaws, that it might make it a little easier for others to take a look within and to be willing to be a little more honest with themselves, with where and how they can grow. We're real people with good hearts and good intentions. We want to live and love and help others, but we're also far from perfect and we get tripped up at times. The Lone Lightworker is my heart. It's my love. It's my light. I hope it speaks to you and I hope you can relate and connect in one way or another. As we're growing the Lone Lightworker community, please be sure to subscribe to our podcast on whichever platform you use, and be sure to follow the Lone Lightworker on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and now YouTube. Twitter and YouTube are brand new and very small. They're definitely works in progress, but we're working on it. You can also sign up for the Lone Lightworker newsletter on our blog and website, www.thelonelightworker.com. Just by following the Lone Lightworker, you'll automatically be entered into the monthly Lone Lightworker giveaway as a small token of our appreciation for all of the love and support. Last but not least, we're thrilled to announce our first Love Your Light live online event taking place Tuesday, August 25th from 6 to 7 p.m. Arizona time. Be sure to connect with us on Facebook to register for the event and to stay apprised of any and all updates. We're so excited to bring the Lone Lightworker community together so that we can get real about the struggles and challenges that so many of us are facing right now. We're in this together, and together we will shine. So be sure to register for the event. We're all beautiful and amazing creatures. We're all so different, so special, and so unique. We have different skills, talents, and abilities, different strengths. And we also have different struggles or downfalls. We're human and we're perfectly imperfect. A lot of us know, accept, and love ourselves despite our weaknesses. Yet for others, we sometimes dim our own lights and we dull our own sparkle. Why do we hold ourselves back when we have so much love, light, and so many unique gifts to share with the world? There are so many potential reasons why we shy away from shining, but it often comes down to our self-esteem. So, what does healthy self-esteem look like? Well, it looks like loving ourselves and accepting that we're not perfect. When we love ourselves, when we truly love and accept ourselves, we recognize that we do have flaws and imperfections, and we still love ourselves just as much despite those flaws. In fact, when we truly believe and love ourselves, we recognize that those flaws and imperfections are likely very much a part of who and why we are the way that we are. Self-confidence and self-love also look like someone who recognizes that not everyone will love them all the time, and ultimately being okay with that. Healthy self-esteem looks like forgiving ourselves, learning the lessons to be had, and then moving on from the mistakes we've made or from the embarrassing situations or experiences we've had. We forgive and embrace not only the good qualities, but also the not so pretty ones. Healthy self-esteem looks like someone who wholeheartedly believes in themselves, someone who doesn't discount their worth, their abilities, or their potential. Self-esteem issues can develop for a number of reasons or shine through in a number of ways. It may be the self-doubt that pops up and is one of the first thoughts we have when we're trying something new or putting ourselves out there in some way. Or it may be apparent by the constant comparing that we find ourselves doing. On last week's episode, Green with Envy, we looked at comparing ourselves with others, whether it's the fancy, expensive material items they possess that we envy, or whether it's the feelings that we desire. Either way, we often compare what they have with what we have, leaving us with feelings or a desire of wanting more or wanting something else. We often convince ourselves that just because we don't have something or because we don't feel a certain way ourselves, that we're somehow less than or lacking. The truth is, so many of us have everything that we truly need. And while it might be nice to have more, it's not necessary, and it certainly doesn't mean that we're lacking in any way. Self-esteem issues could also be due to PTSD-like feelings. Because of past mistakes or experiences we've had, we're traumatized, and each and every time something happens that reminds us of that situation, it takes us right back to that stressful and horrifying experience. We find ourselves thinking and believing that if we put ourselves out there again, because it didn't turn out so well the last time, we assume that this time will be more of the same. Even though it's actually a different situation, we assume that the outcome will be the same. That habit of self-doubt might also be related to our upbringing and what was modeled for us, or what we experienced as we were growing up. As you were growing up and that family member constantly commented on your weight or appearance, it probably didn't do a whole lot to help build your confidence. And now you're going through life with those thoughts and insecurities creeping in every time you turn around. Or maybe you're holding yourself back because of a fear of rejection or a fear of failure. "I love failing," said no one ever. It never feels good being rejected or failing at something. We're afraid that they'll think we're idiots. They'll think we're ugly or that we're not good enough. We're afraid they'll laugh at us or have laughs at our expense. We're afraid of the outcome, and so we hold ourselves back, because doubting ourselves is easier and more comfortable for us than being doubted by someone else, especially if it's someone that we care about or have immense respect for. Or maybe it's actually quite the opposite, and it's someone we dislike. When someone we dislike has something to criticize us about or sees that we messed up, when they see how imperfect we are, we end up feeling horrified. Many of us are seeking the approval of others, and we're afraid that we're not going to be good enough. Throughout my life, I have struggled with managing my weight, and because I also struggled with my self-confidence, I worried about and made assumptions about what others would think of me. I went straight to assuming that others must think I'm fat and not attractive. I found myself making a point to make jokes about my weight or to refer to myself as fat. I'd call myself out before someone else had the opportunity to call me out. Because in my mind, if I beat them to the punch, then there would be no point for them to point it out because I already had, right? Well, I was just further cementing my negative self-talk and my low self-esteem by doing that. All because I was worried about being judged or rejected. And now, looking back, I'm fairly certain that 99% of the people I encountered weren't even thinking about my weight or my appearance. Well, until I put it in their heads, right? So, are you tired of feeling afraid? Are you exhausted with the self-doubt and the low self-esteem that you're experiencing? I know I was. We are ready to put ourselves out there. We are ready to shine our lights and share our hearts with the world. We are done worrying about not being good enough or pretty enough, smart or special enough. We are already whole and perfect just as we are, and we are going to share ourselves and our gifts with the world. Imagine what this world would be like and how boring and predictable it would be if we were all the same. We're different for a reason, and we all have different and unique contributions to make. Just as we all have different lessons we're learning and we're growing in different ways that are unique and specific to each of us. So how do we actually get rid of the nasty habit of self-doubt? Well, once we've made the decision to make some changes, we need to start with stopping the negative self-talk and the negative thoughts. Before we worry about going any further, we have to first recognize if and when the negative self-talk and the internal criticism is occurring. This is probably one of the most critical and crucial steps in turning around this pattern of negative thinking and behavior. Recognize it before you do anything else. Then, once you've made that first huge step of recognizing when it's happening, then we can make a point to turn it around and replace it with a positive and encouraging thought or statement. One of the reasons I took a year to actually follow through with the Lone Lightworker podcast was because of what I was telling myself. I actually listened to and believed those negative thoughts. Who would want to listen to anything I have to say? People will think it's a dumb idea. I was convincing myself that I would be a failure and that no one would be interested, and that just wasn't true. Luckily, I recognized that because now here we are. When we finally recognize that those thoughts are present, we need to replace it with a new and more accurate and a more positive thought or statement, such as, I believe in myself and I will make a difference, if even for just one person. Make a point to replace the thought, as cheesy as that may feel, just humor me and do it, and then watch how your thoughts actually begin to shift. Just by recognizing and calling out those negative thoughts and the self-doubt, along with replacing them with positivity and encouragement, you have just taken an amazing step in believing in yourself a little bit more. From there, make a point to be bold and be daring to do you. Do you want to live in fear, always worrying about what someone else is going to think or what they're going to say? Bottom line is, there are some very opinionated people, and there are also some unhealed and not so nice people out there who will have an opinion on everything, and we'd be wise to recognize it for what it is. As much as we want to be liked by others, the minute we can come to understand and accept that that just won't always be the case is the minute that we find freedom. Not everyone will like us, and for various reasons. Some just won't click with our vibe. Some are dealing with their own struggles and challenges. Many are just needing to be healed themselves, and they're on their journey and learning their lessons in their time. Whichever it may be, ask yourself why you care about what they're going to think. In all seriousness, spend some time doing a little soul searching and reflect on why that person's opinion matters so much to you. Is it because you look up to them and are afraid to disappoint? Is it because you're worried that those strangers will think you're weird? Why do you care? Will you ever see those strangers again? What makes them the expert? What makes their opinion matter so much? Is it that you're afraid that people will tell you no, so you don't even want to take a chance on the fact that maybe they'll say yes? We will never know unless we try, and no one but you has to live your life, so no one but you should have too much of an opinion on it. I understand how hard it is to convince yourself to just go for it, especially when it bit you in the butt before. But if and when you can find that bravery, that warrior deep down inside, you can and will make progress. And remember that you don't have to go big. You can start with a smaller goal and then push yourself outside of your comfort zone a little bit at a time. Be brave and be daring to do you and to do it all the way. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised when you try it and when you see that others are not nearly as concerned with you as you think or assume they are. So try it and see. The next thing we need to do is act. If something is bothering us enough, then do something about it. I can sit here and whine about being uncomfortable in my skin because I'm overweight, or I can make a point to do something about it and actually take action. I can make some changes with my diet and exercise, or I can sit back and let myself believe that I'm a victim and that I have no control over this situation. Take control back when and where you can and take action. If you feel like you're not as knowledgeable about a certain subject and you're not all that confident in yourself, well, then make a point to learn it and get better. If you feel like you're not using your voice, then make a point to begin using it, as scary as that may be. But start small and go and grow from there. Make a point to identify something you can do or a way in which you can take action and then take that step. One other notable action we can all take as we're working on boosting our self-esteem is to surround ourselves with individuals that encourage kindness, positivity, and self-love. Like we talked about in our episode, Good Vibes Only, nobody likes being around negative Nancys all the time because it's exhausting and it brings everyone down when we're surrounded by it with no place to go. When we keep company with the pessimists, the complainers, and the naysayers, we're likely going to stay stuck in the negative muck. It's easier to change our behaviors and our thoughts when we're surrounded by people who value and exhibit the same traits that we're trying to build or develop. Surround yourself with individuals who are positive, compassionate, and supportive. These individuals will help to inspire you to do the same and will probably even help with holding you accountable for giving out the good vibes and for believing in yourself. Self-esteem can be a doozy at times. When we're deep down in the darkness and the negative, doubting thoughts, it can be really difficult to shine bright and to make our way to the healing and happiness that we deserve. We have to get into our thoughts and feelings to explore where and why those self-esteem struggles are an issue. And then once we've gained some clarity and understanding as to the underlying cause, we can then move forward and work to turn it around. At the end of the day, it comes down to not comparing ourselves to others, pushing ourselves to go a little further outside of our comfort zone, and to do the things that scare us, being kind, compassionate, and forgiving with ourselves and others along the way. We have a light within us, and it's up to us, nobody else, to nurture and care for that light each and every day. Make sure you're shining your light and not dimming it. As Christopher Robin said, always remember that you are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. I challenge you to work on crushing those defeating and doubting behaviors, to shine your light so bright and to embrace every aspect of yourself completely. I challenge you to sparkle like you mean it. With that, I thank you so much for coming back, and I look forward to meeting you back here next week for an all-new episode of The Lone Light Worker. Please be sure to subscribe, please connect with the Lone Light Worker community, and please spread the word. Until then, keep shining your light and keep